a few moments, and I'll make sure that you have a recording of this as well.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I can already hear spirit coming in already. Let's hope they don't mess up getting Zoom on. Okay, I think that we are live. I'm just going to be double checking. Great. Hi, Ricky. How are you?
I'm well. All is well.
All is well. I'm just gonna take a few moments to just kind of give an introduction. Tonight, I am super excited as we are interviewing Ricky Bruno, who died, crossed the other side, and came back. So some of the things we're going to talk about is his experiences there, here, since then, before then, all over then, everything and anything that you want to talk about. I will, of course, will ask a million questions. And Ricky lives in Louisiana. And what else would you like to tell people about yourself?
Well, that I'm a very private person, a discreet person, but when it comes to spirit and the things that I've been through and the connections that I've made, I'm very open with that. And that's New Orleans, Louisiana.
Oh, it's New Orleans. It's not New Orleans. It's New Orleans.
Yeah, it's a little. Yeah. New Orleans.
Yeah, it's New Orleans. New Orleans. Okay, I'm gonna remember that.
Yes.
When I come
Sorry
down
for the
there
accent.
and when I come down there and say hi to you, I will make sure I get it right for sure. So I guess let's start from the beginning. I guess maybe do you want to talk about who you were prior to experiencing your crossing over?
Well, I was very different, that's for sure. The person that I is so far away from where I'm at now. It's like looking at a distant, like a memory almost, or or a dream that who that person was. It's the connection, even the connection is really not strong like it used to be to that person. So that's really all I can say about it. It's a distant, almost a mirage.
Ooh, I like that word in describing yourself of who you were prior to your NDE, a mirage. I think that's so poetic, and I just love how that kind of fits. So what happened to have you cross to the other side?
You want the incident, the heart attack, or?
Yeah, I guess like what brought you to it, what was happening around you, just, yeah.
Well, at the time that I had the heart attack, I was playing volleyball,
Mm-hmm.
with a bunch of friends, and as we talked about before, while I was playing, that I could actually feel like a vortex that was over me, like
Mm,
looming. There was no pains or no, indications that I was having a heart attack is how I passed away. Um, but really it was the overwhelming, it was the spiritual side of it. It wasn't really the physical. I could feel that vortex like circling me, ready to suck me up.
right.
And as I'm playing, I feel this, but simultaneously, I really couldn't catch my breath and I started coughing. And, I could feel it was much like a panic attack, where you start hyperventilating and you can't really catch your breath.
Hmm.
And, the more this went on, I could feel that vortex even getting more serious and more uh, just larger. It was like an expansion. So I stopped playing volleyball. I stepped off the court to catch my breath and try to figure out what was going on. And, intuitively, it wasn't a voice, but it was just intuitively, I knew I was dying. I
Hmm.
know that, I knew that death was there and I knew what it was and this was it.
When you understood that death was there, did you have this was this like just a knowing in your soul, or was there like something inside your brain that clicked? Or was just how did you know
It,
that?
it, it permeated everything.
Ooh,
Yes, it permeated my whole body. It's like my mind, my heart, my everything. My soul knew this is death
mm,
and you're about to leave and there's really nothing you could do about it.
right.
And then my brain took over and I started thinking, about the things that I didn't do before this time. Like, I didn't tell people I loved them. I didn't apologize to the people that, I had fallings out with and treated them badly. I didn't have the time to really make up or to prepare. This was it. So once that really gripped and set in, that then I started to panic a little bit and next thing you know, I'm passing out, not physically, passing out. And that was it.
So you step off the court. I just want to make sure that I have the right picture. You step off the court, you're trying to catch your breath. At this time, are there people that are starting to get alerted to what's happening with you?
Yes, I heard, I could hear, like I said, it was more of a distant. Um, I was so in tune to what was going on and trying to, you know, remain alive. I was
Uh-huh.
trying to will myself to be awake.
Uh-huh.
And as I'm passing out and going out, I could hear in the distance, people were asking if I was okay and what was wrong, but I didn't answer. I was really focused on
Hmm.
on staying on the earth. And then I started to walk, and as I was walking, I said, "This is it. I really need to get some help." And I fell to my knees actually and passed out and woke up again. And, I said, "Oh, this is serious. I don't even have enough energy to get to where I'm going or to figure out what's going on." So I get up again, start walking, and, then I pass out and drop. I have wear glasses. I drop my glasses. I drop everything. And
So
then I wake up again.
wait, you're
Okay.
fighting the heart attack the whole time.
Absolutely.
Whoa.
And here's the thing. There was no pain whatsoever. There was no pain. Like, I have always heard you feel pain in your arms, you feel like heaviness on your chest.
Right.
Like, I didn't feel any of that. I was so focused on just, I guess, gripping my body with my spirit and staying. Like, I'm
Wow.
not leaving.
I'm not leaving. I'm staying
Right.
here.
I'm trying to make it because I have things to do.
Hmm.
So yeah, the second time I passed out, I fell from what I remember. And then I wake up again. And by this time, there's people crowded around me, asking me, am I okay? What's wrong? And I have tunnel vision. No,
Uh-huh.
this is the second time. The
Okay,
second
the
time.
second time you have tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision. And, I'm looking, and all I could really see is focus. And I had this inner voice telling me to get to this particular place, go get help. So I wake up, I grab my glasses. People are asking me if I'm all right. I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And I start walking again. And, the last time I fell out, that was it. I died right there on the scene.
So do you remember, I'm so intrigued. You pass out twice, get tunnel vision, hear in your soul that you have to get to this place to get help.
Right. It wasn't in my ears. It wasn't a verbal. It was just an intuitive get to, get to this place to get help.
And
So
when you pass out the third time and you die, do you die
yeah.
in front of like a doctor that starts to help you, or somebody that
No,
comes rushing?
no, yeah. I was around, some friends, and when I passed out the last time when I physically, flatlined,
Hmm.
that's when it was like just one fluid motion. It was from me falling down in the hard wiring of my body, going through the mental motions, the panic, the what's going on, try to stay. It went from that to total liberation of my body. And I'm watching my body now on the ground like a shell, like a husk, without its wheat, like just an empty vessel.
Did you
So
have any
right then,
attachment to this body at that point when you're like, you
no,
nothing,
nothing,
nothing. You were like,
none whatsoever.
did you,
There was no emotional, there was no feeling about it. It was like an empty shell. And I knew this was intuitive as well. It's like, I knew it. Okay, I'm, I'm dead. I know that. And, what now? I'm watching all this going on. Is this where I'm stuck? Am I staying here? And in that moment is when, I said, God, I want to be with you. I only want to be with you. And that's it. And that's when it moved on to the next layer of the story.
so when you die and it, I love how you said that. And you just said it was like walking, like we're free of everything of the body, and what you were looking at you had zero attachment to.
Right. Yeah,
Zero
no,
attachment.
zero.
I
Like
think
nothing.
that's so hard for people to understand, right? Like, people want to believe.
Absolutely. I used to be one of those people. I could never fathom what death was. I was so fascinated with death in my prior life, I
Hmm.
like to say, that it caused anxiety. It was such an obsession, even, deep inside, a fear,
Fear.
of not knowing what's coming. And in that moment, it's like I seen in the end of the movie, I read the end of the book, and here it is. There's no more wonder. There's no more anticipation. This is it. And that was it. All that worry, and it was just so natural. It was just so fluid. And that
So
right there, and that's, I'm listening.
I'm sorry. I want to say, one of the things that I think is so, like, I love hearing you say is like, you skipped to the end of the book and know the ending now and came back. That is so imperative. I think that to get that across to everybody who's watching this, not only now, but at any other time that they may watch it, that you skip to the ending.
Yes, it's definitely a game changer. It liberates you from those, I'm speaking now for myself. It just
Right.
liberated me you know, from the angst and the concern, and you know, really, what do you have to do to prepare for death? It's already generated and created for us. I mean, we didn't invent it. So
Right.
there's definitely, right, there's definitely a wisdom to it. There's a purpose, there's meaning, and
Hmm.
really all we have to do is step into that story, and that's it. There's really nothing we have to do. It's just
A
it
natural,
is. It just is.
it is a natural state of being. It just is. You know,
Absolutely.
we had talked briefly, and I think prior, and you had said to me something that really stuck with me. It was like just getting up and walking away, like to the next room or something like that, right? Something,
Right.
yeah.
It was one fluid progression. It you know, the only time that I got hung up was when I was willing to stay here. Like you said, actually fighting death.
Fighting
I
death.
wasn't fighting it, yes, and I wasn't fighting it arrogantly. I wasn't fighting it being rebellious. It's just,
Right.
you know, we love to be in our body. We love to be on the earth. We can't even think of it ending, but it really doesn't end. It's just a new beginning.
I love that you just said that. We love to be in our body, don't we? And we think when we're here, like we don't love this experience, but we love it.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Even the pain and the drama, it's just it's all, yes, it's just it's almost like a playground. It's, you know, even if you don't know you're doing it, you enjoy it, or you
Yeah.
wouldn't do it at all.
Or you wouldn't do it. I love that. So you die and you say you see your body and it's this shell. This you don't you have no care for it. It just is. It just is. It's this next progression of it ising. And so um and you say I want to be with God. What happens next?
Well, in that moment, I go from being in that moment and that layer of the onion to being in the presence of God. It's which is universal, which is spirit, which is, you know, it really transcends thought and, you know, our beliefs and the way we can try to configure who and what God is. In that moment, there was a knowing so deep within my soul that this is God, and I felt, you know, I felt that presence of a parental figure.
Mm.
You know, as I like to say, it's
Uh-huh.
I almost felt my spirit bowing down, but not in a fear bow, almost just an overwhelming awe. Like, you can't help deny that presence, and it's so huge. And I knew I was just like a little baby spirit, and this was perfection. This was everything. This was everything that I've ever wanted. This was everything that I ever longed for and looked for, you know, in that previous life, that this
Hmm.
was it, and I'm here, and this is where I want to be, you know. And in that moment, that's what I said. I said, I'm staying. You know, I didn't say verbally. It was, you know, more telepathically or intuitively. I'm staying. This is it.
This
This is
place is
it.
amazing. This is
This
everything.
is it. Right. I fit. And that's another thing. I felt like I was everything and everything was me simultaneously. And there was no separation. And I could see, you know, I could see all around me. I felt like I was like just one big eye, and I could see it all, you
I
know, with the lights, and yes.
I love that. Like you were one big eye. Because so I have heard this before, that I could see 360 degrees and like
Definitely.
everything.
Definitely. Yes.
That's
And that, right.
a lot to take in. Like that's a lot Kind of think like I could see everything that was happening around me, behind me, up and down, everywhere.
And that's the thing, you know, in the physical body, when your brain is hooked up to it and you're trying to process, you know, and kind of break down the thoughts of that and go through your Rolodex of information,
Right.
that doesn't really compute. It doesn't compute with that feeling because it is out of body, it is spirit. And but in that spiritual state where I could see 360 and I was everything,
Mm-hmm.
it's so natural. It just fit, you know, and it was perfect. And I said I'm staying, you know, and I got the intuitive answer, not yet.
Not yet.
Right, not yet. I got three of those. That was the first one, and I said, well, I said, but you know, you don't understand. This is perfection. This
Try to negotiate. How do I stay?
almost a negotiation on my part. Like like I said, you know, I went through the stages. You know, I've died. I'm staying. This is it. You know, and I got that second, not yet. You know, it was a little more powerful, a little more, you know, overwhelming, not yet.
Uh-huh.
And there were light beings and orbs. There was so many lights, and you know, all of them exuding goodwill, love. You know, at the same time probing me for you know, maybe my, I don't want to say flaws, but undevelopment, you know, trying to
Uh,
see where I was
did you
in
know
that state.
any of them as they were asking you questions, or did you recognize anybody that you had seen, or you know? And then I have a couple more questions that people asked, so I will ask these questions when
Yeah,
you're done.
you know, and people have asked me that before. Have I seen like family members, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, was it anyone specifically that you knew? No one. Well, the beings that I seen, the awareness that I seen were, of course, you know, inorganic. They
Right.
didn't have any kind of a body, or it was just light beings, and it was no one physical that I knew. But then again, you know, in the spirit world, everyone's family. So they were, you know, mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and so on, because there's really, you know, there's no ownership there. You know, you don't own this person, you know, I'm your father or mother. It's just, it's a coherent whole, you know, everybody's family and that's it. And, you know, there is one creator and that's what it is.
A coherent whole. So you just knew that as you are in this space, connecting with all being, everything. Okay, that was my next question. Does God want to be called God?
That's really, it's a personal thing for
Uh-huh.
everyone. And
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, you know, it's more or less, you know, another brain configuration of having, you know, a word here on the earth and it means this, you know, but when you cross over and you go deeper into that consciousness, you know, things change. You know, it's like saying Goo and Gaga when, you know, you're a little baby. But when you grow up, you're not saying those words. You know, you're using sophisticated words. You're putting sentences together.
Right.
It, you know, it's a different. He doesn't mind it, and I say he. You know, it's hard to describe God because, you know, we want to put genders on him because, you know, we're human,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it's so beyond that. It's so much bigger and grander than that. It's you know.
Amazing. That's just I mean, I love hearing you talk about this. And I just wanted to make sure that there was one other question that someone had. And the question was, did you, what did it look like? Do you remember what it looked like? Was there trees, clouds, water? Could you see anything around you?
It was more universal. It was more lights and nothing. You know, when you say trees and things like that, it's more of a matter. It's
Ah,
more of an earthly matter. This was, you know, more it transcended that.
okay.
Um, it was more ethereal, more
Ah.
translucence. So, you know, it reminded me of just like a crystal
I was just
kingdom.
thinking that. I was literally
Yeah.
just thinking that as you were saying that. I was seeing crystal, and wow, that's you and I, Ricky. I was
Yes.
just seeing crystals and thinking about like it looking through that sort of like lens of like a wine, like a crystal glass, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's many layers of the universe and perception and consciousness. And the higher, I say higher, just as a human word, but the deeper you go into that consciousness, the more, it's see-through. It's more, it's an
Wow.
ethereal, essence. It's an essence is what it is. It's not bound to any kind of configuration. It's fluid.
Love that. I love that. That's just so beautiful. So you're in this space saying, I'm gonna stay, and you hear, no, you're not. Not yet.
And that's the thing. There was no explanation. There was no. It just was not yet. And you know, and like I said, during that time, that was the second not yet. And the third one came when I could actually feel, my body being pulled back, my spirit being pulled back into my body. And
Right.
I could hear a nurse saying, my name, stay with us. And as I'm being pulled back, I'm like, let me go. I'm not coming back. I'm staying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when the last not yet came. And it was definitely like almost like a stamp, like not yet.
Like I
And
you
that's right. And that's it. And then I could actually feel myself going back into my body. It was, it was either being pushed or actually pulled, but I was going back, and that was it. And that was a real fluid transgression, just, going from spiritual, in the presence of God, just to flowing right back into my body, to where I could actually hear the heart tone. Still, it was flatlined still as I'm going back into my body. And then I could hear it beep after they shocked me for the third time. They did 3 AED shots on me on the scene.
wow.
So,
You
right.
you just kind of blew my mind a little bit. And it's interesting because I have never thought about it the way you just said it. And I'm I'm a little bit in awe of right now as I'm sitting here. I'm hearing this. It was very easy to transition to the other side and dying. That was easy. But it was just as easy to go from the spirit realm back into the body.
Yes. Yeah, it's very, very fluid. Just
It,
no hindrance, no blockages. No, it was that open. Anyway, for me, I
right.
don't know what other people go through, but for me, it was just so fluid and
Wow. I,
perfect.
and
It
perfect.
was just, it was very easy, and I didn't have to do anything.
That's amazing. That's like you really think about that. We're in our lives, we're thinking, doing, having to figure it out, trying to push, trying to do everything. And here you did nothing. It just was one fluid movement and then another fluid movement.
I was the participant, and everything was taking care of itself and moving me along, at that time.
Right.
Yes.
So you come back into your body, and when you're coming back into your body, they had an, I mean, spirit always works out, right? There's an AED right where you're at. Somebody puts it on
Yes,
you.
I got 3 shocks, and yeah, the third one was the one that pulled me back, after around 12 minutes. And, they, like I said, I could hear the flat line of the monitor. And when I came back, then I heard it jump, you know, it
Hmm.
was irregular, but I heard it beeping at the time.
So
And
you hear your heart come back online.
yes, and still really no connection to it. Still in that distant frame of mind,
Mm.
you know, that I was a participant. I was just a participant. And, that's when I got transported to the hospital, and, they did the operation and actually put a stent in my main left artery.
Hmm.
That's what caused the widowmaker.
Wow.
That my left main artery was blocked 100%.
Wait,
And I've never
your left main artery was blocked 100%.
100%. And I have never had a medical issue my entire life. I've never had any kind of illnesses. Wasn't a sickly person. I was actually in shape at the time.
Hmm.
Um, no problems, no medical problems, you know, at all, really, my entire life. And, it was, and then when something finally happens, it was a major something.
Do you remember the drive from where you were playing volleyball to the hospital?
I was coming in and out at the time,
Okay.
and no. Once I was in my body, you know, I was still detached from it, but at the same time, it was, I had the chemicals working, and
Hmm.
everything was off kilter. And until I got to the hospital, and you know, when I got into the emergency room, I don't know if they gave me some medicine that actually helped me, perk back up and figure out what was going on. But
Uh-huh.
as I told you in the when we talked before, at the hospital, when I finally woke up and kind of realized where I was, I felt, like I told you then, I felt like I was in an insane asylum.
Right.
I was in a hospital, some kind of a mental hospital, and I have been crazy my whole life, and I finally and I finally awakened from this dream.
Wow.
And right, it felt like I just got dropped in my body, and I was trying to put it all together, like a computer scrambled. I was trying to piece everything together, and I couldn't do it. It took me a while.
So how interesting. So you get you feel like you just woke up from a dream, but in many ways you kind of did, right?
Right.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Uh how how did, I don't know if we're jumping ahead, and if we are, tell me, because I'm so I know what happened when you came back, when you woke, when you felt like you're waking up from an insane asylum and you're waking up from a dream. How did that play out in your life with the doctors, with the nurses? Were they like, did you come in and you had a different consciousness?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was it was so evident that the insane asylum part, and really the ramblings of my inventory
Yeah.
from Ricky's inventory was like a scrambled computer. When you unplug it while it's on and then you plug it back in,
Oh,
it's trying to reboot.
okay.
But simultaneously, my spirit and my consciousness was still so fresh and connected from dying, that all of this was happening at one time. So my spirit saw what was going on, that these thoughts and these feelings of Ricky and these memories and these little bitty things that are kind of shorting out, and I knew it was just my programming, my movie reel unraveling, so to say. And
I
I'm a witness to it in real time.
in real time as it's happening.
Real time as it's happening, and I have the awareness of what's going on with it. Not that I could do much with that awareness,
Right.
except be the witness to to see what's going on. But and simultaneously, after coming back, I could hear the sun sizzling, the grass speaking, like little things like that.
You
I
know,
could hear.
Ricky, what's so funny is that as you were telling me about all of this, I had heard from Spirit. I was hearing have him ask him about the grass. They're really wanting. Spirit is like asking me to, and now you come up with saying that the grass was beginning. Tell me a little bit about that, because you have my utmost attention.
Yes, well, fast forward a little bit, not too much, but after the operation, and I was out of the hospital, I could, like I said, I could hear the trees, as they're waving in the wind. It's a language. It's a literal language on the earth, and I could understand it, and I could feel it, and I could hear it. And like I said, the grass almost shimmering, making noises, but it is a language, and I can hear these languages and understand them while I'm trying to piece everything back together from Ricky. These new abilities, and connected with spirit, hearing the melodies and the language of light beings and angels and spirits that are still around. It was a lot. It was a lot to take in, and just having that intuitive knowledge of not to really panic. Just listen. Just go with it. Don't try to figure it out. Just listen with your spiritual ears and see with your spiritual eyes, and really just soak it in. It's
Like you don't have to do anything. You just have to lean in.
like a baby,
Like a baby.
just feed, just listen. When something's wrong, we're going to take care of you. If you have a need, we got that. It's, like I said, that simultaneously with, the unraveling of Ricky, and just being conscious of it all. It took a long time for me to really speak, even, and to put it together and have a certain language about it.
Yeah, I was just
I
gonna.
had to.
I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I'm not just.
Oh,
I'm really just so like excited. um, I, I first off, because I've always believed that trees talk. So, and I see your kitty.
they're alive. They're living.
Yep. Do the trees and the grass speak a different language, or do they speak the same language? I'm just curious.
They speak different languages, because there are different forms of matter on the
Uh-huh.
earth,
Mm-hmm.
but they're connected, so they're relatives. I mean, they know they can speak to each other, but they have their own
Right.
take on things. They have their own dialect.
That's like New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans.
Exactly. And that's another thing. Different areas, energy anywhere, if it's going to have its own signature. It's going to have its own signature. its own fingerprint, you know.
Yeah. I I I I I'm trying to envision what it would be like if I was plopped back in my body and have everything sort of coming together at once as I'm trying to come back online, seeing angels, seeing energy, hearing like things that you knew before you couldn't hear, and now you're hearing the sun actually sizzling. That's how did you explain that to people?
Definitely, I could hear that. I
Okay.
didn't.
You
I
didn't
didn't at
explain it.
first.
You didn't tell anybody.
Not not at first.
Okay.
You know, and if I did, and I may have here and there, I did it. I tried to explain it biblically. I
Hmm.
tried to explain it in languages that I learned to try to explain it in that kind of form,
Hmm.
but it still didn't do it justice. It wasn't enough. And you know, like I said, this went on for a good while, and the old me was trying somewhat to piece back together, but it was so obliterated. You know, Ricky, the ego-based belief system, the program of who I
Hmm.
was literally obliterated, and it just could never take form again. It couldn't do it. It tried, but there was just so much going on spiritually that there was no room.
So the person that you were
It's
before.
like trying to wrap your arms around eternity.
No, 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 go ahead. I'm sorry.
What's that?
I said, I said the idea that you're the old Ricky. I think we're having a little bit of spirit interference right now. Sorry, I think it just happens. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yes, I'm used to it.
Right. So, the idea that you were the old Ricky and the old like ego ideas of yourself was completely obliterated, but yet there were still pieces trying to remember and congeal back, and it
There
just
was there was remnants. There was a
remnant.
residual energy of Ricky.
Right.
You know, not much, not enough to really take root, because my clock was cleaned, and you know, in a good way. You know, I was erased. I say I've said that before. I was totally erased.
I love that. Actually, you were erased. That's and how long did it take for you to begin to like tell people or talk about your experiences? And I just want to say as an aside, and I've heard like, and you've said this tonight, that it definitely, you definitely, words don't do it justice. And speaking about it now, do you sit back and you're like, well, yeah, that's the way it happened. I can tell you this, but it just doesn't convey the real place.
Yes, you're right on that aspect. I do my best. I try to be impeccable with how I explain. I try to use the gifts that were given to me, and you
Uh-huh.
know, I view words as a gift.
Yeah.
So I try to do the best that I can to paint pictures and, you know, convey visions and help people see that want to see,
Hmm.
you know, but at the same time, it's such, you know, it's an intimate, personal relationship. And, you know, we all have the ability and the opportunity to have that on our own time,
Hmm.
you know, so yeah, words, it's just, I find myself a lot in silence because I don't have the mental dialogue. Since that day on, I don't have thoughts. I don't have the thinking to where I have to process, you know, a lot of times what I'm going to say, because, you know, awareness is just aware and it just flows. So I don't have a lot of those configurations to deal with.
I think I think that all, it's so interesting. I think everybody can get down with everything you said, and then you come to this part where you say, I don't think anymore. And I think people go, oh, come on now.
Absolutely.
They're like,
They,
I can believe you and everything until then. I believe
a
totally.
thinking mind, right? A thinking mind processes and regurgitates information and dissects it and goes over it and over it, can't fathom not having that process living inside them. I was that way. I was a thinker. Fast forward to today, I have no thoughts. It is so silent and quiet in my being, in my mind. The only way that one would be able to believe me is to do it themselves. And, that's a lot easier said than done, for sure.
Right.
You know?
Do people try and make you think? Do they, do they try and poke you and be like, oh no, you were thinking? That's
No, I don't get challenged like that, but it's more of a frustration from thinkers or people that I'm close with that do think,
mhm.
Because if I'm not thinking like them, it makes it would frustrate. It frustrates people. It frustrates a thinker because there's really no dialogue that we can have on that thinking terms, So
That's true, right? Like, I mean, that's like literally what you just said is, how do you actually have a dialogue with somebody who's always trying to think about what they're going to say next? It must, do you find yourself frustrated when you're trying to, like, or probably not, you're probably just like, I allow everything to happen and whatever happens is perfect. Is that what happens?
I'm not gonna say it's perfect, but it is. But at the same time, it's everything has its its timing. It's has its construction. So someone going through the daily thoughts of worry or whatever they're thinking of the future and the past and what am I going to eat or where am I going to go, and I got to do this and that. There's only now. There's only now. And to slow down to that kind of perception, is so liberating and so peaceful. A lot of people don't, like I said, going full circle, a lot of people like to be here. They like to be in their body. They like their brain. Even though they say, I think all the time, I'm going crazy. It is a gift. It's a gift.
Yeah.
One that I no longer have, but because of that, I have more. For myself, I feel I have room for more awareness, for more, consciousness and a direct connection with the spirit and with God. It just,
Even as you say, like, there's only now and there's only now and there, I have like a visceral response to that, as it, like, there's a calming effect in there. Like, if you can just be in this now, you calm.
there is only now. There's when you transcend the thought patterns of the future or the past or tomorrow, once you transcend that, your spirit gets integrated, literally absorbed into those layers of awareness to where you are the past, you are the future. That becomes now. You're like one, you're integrated into one coherent whole with that. And that's where peace is. You don't have to rush there because you are there. You don't have to think about tomorrow because your awareness is already there. And that's peace like none other.
I I don't know if everybody who's watching this right now can. I just want to say as who I am as an individual. I don't know if you feel this as well, Ricky, but I'm sure you do. I'm feeling like guides and angels, like talking with everybody that is on this feed. I just feel that, actually more angelic, I want to say more angelic, is that it's just a kind of a wave of peace going through this transmission. Do you agree with that, Ricky?
Absolutely. That's all
Absolutely.
there is.
That's all there is. How,
If you have peace, if you can plug into peace, it goes everywhere. It goes everywhere. It goes through, you know, this video. It goes through the microphone. It's so perfect and fluid. It touches everything, and that's its job, is to invite everybody in and to gather people who are longing for it. You know, it's the natural progression.
do you see energy and angels to this day, and guides, or do you hear the sun or the trees, or
I I can't turn it off.
you can't turn it off?
There is no turning it off. Once that veil was lifted, once I was absorbed into that, yeah,
Mm.
there's no turning it off. So yes, I do. That's the answer.
That's
Yes.
the answer. Yeah, there's no turning. That's, I love that idea too. I think that it's something like you were absorbed into everything and brought back
Yes.
into everything.
Yes. I like to use this little analogy to really kind of share, you know, a vision. If you can imagine a goldfish in a bowl,
Hmm.
and inside that goldfish bowl is the goldfish's memories, his life, his experiences, everything that makes that goldfish him or her is in that bowl.
Right.
Everything, his soul, his mind, his heart is in that bowl. Now imagine taking that bowl and the fish and dumping it into the biggest, you know, deepest part of the ocean. All of the bowl and everything, all of the memories and thoughts and experiences in that bowl, in that water, start expanding with the ocean itself. Along with the goldfish, he's now absorbed. So for myself, those memories, Ricky, you know, before, his dreams, everything, his spirit, his soul got absorbed and caught up in that current of the eternal ocean. And, you know, me at the time, the little goldfish, there was no way of reaching and holding on to that. I couldn't. There's no
Right.
such thing. So I had to adapt, you know, and the goldfish in the story, you know, he grows into the ocean. That's what he is. It's who he's been. And, you know, as for all of us, that's who we are.
The goldfish grows into the ocean. I hope you're writing this book, Ricky. I hope that you're trying to decide to write this children's book about everything that is in these terms, because it would be just read to every kid around the world, I think. So I just want to encourage you to do that if you've ever thought about doing that before, because it sounds like the one of the most beautiful prophetic and poetic books that a child could read. Um, right.
All the you know, all spiritual children.
All spiritual children. Exactly. Not just children, all
Aren't
spiritual.
aren't we all?
We
Aren't
all,
we all?
we,
Eternity, yeah, it's very vast. So, you know, it's we're all children.
we're all children. And um, do you, so now you're back, you're here,
Right.
you're not thinking. you're just doing whatever spirit kind of guides you to do. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? What does spirit guide you to do?
Many things, from the just a simple conversation and a simple hello to, delivering messages, to actually interacting with, spiritual, I don't want to say warfare, but spiritual, work.
Mm. And do you want to, oh, somebody asked the question actually, how long ago and how did you come to your place now? So I think it was instantaneously coming to this place, or how did you get to?
Yeah, well, yes, it was instantaneous, and this was 2011.
Okay.
September 4th, 2011 is when I had the heart attack. Labor Day.
Labor Day? Labor Day.
Which for me was the sign that, there's work to do.
That is
spiritual labor.
Well, there's also something I want to say is that you fought 3 times today, which is a very divine number. That's divinity. Then you were told 3 times you had to come back.
Shocked 3 times.
And then shocked 3 times. Like, you are here for a reason.
And when I went to the hospital, it was on a Sunday, and got let out on a Wednesday, which is 3 days.
Wow. I'm taking a moment to like really just kind of bring that into my soul. That is amazing.
Yes. And when it happened, it was right around twilight, where the sun is halfway in and halfway out, half on the earth and half in the heavens.
Half in the heavens, half on the earth, just like exactly what happened with you.
Absolutely.
I have another question for you. What are your relationships like now? Better or worse after the experience? Oh, this is going to be
right. Well, they're constantly growing, but the old relationships that I had with people that I really wasn't doing good with, so to say, those dissolved, and the meaningful relationships, are very intimate and very strong, much on a deeper level.
I'm curious, as a medium, in my like personal experiences, I don't get told a lot about like my very, very close relationships. Does it turn off for you in that way or not? No, you just get it for everybody all the time. Okay.
Yes, because what comes first is the spiritual position. My spiritual position comes first, because I'm not on my time here. There's times where, I like to interact and try to be personal, but deep in my being, I know for a fact there is no my. This is not my time. I'm here, as a second chance for spiritual reasons, for divine reasons, and they're not mine. And I take that with the utmost seriousness, and as a gift, as well as a divine purpose. And to me, that holds a lot of weight with me, because of the person I was before to now. You couldn't have told me this is what's going to happen and this is what you're going to be doing. I would have laughed. You're crazy.
You would have never believed it in a million years.
You couldn't have convinced me. And I believe that's why my incident happened the way it did, and why I met, God, and the spiritual all-knowing, because I wouldn't have heard it from anyone else. I just wouldn't have. I know that.
So I wouldn't have even imagined. So
So
if you would have crossed over and went and spoke with, 10 different angels, you'd have been like, nah, I don't believe you.
no,
Yeah,
right,
it
right.
had to be the way it happened for you.
Yes, it had to be, the creator. It had to be the
Mm.
all-knowing, because that power, speaks to me. And that's how I had to hear it, and I'm sure you've heard that, and in your work, we're going to hear from God and from angels or from spirits or whoever in our own way.
Right.
Something that's going to help you personally accept these truths and to grow. That was mine. It wasn't, my path wasn't, well, you're gonna grow a little bit at a time, and you're gonna read a book here and read a book there. It was, we're gonna dunk you into the deepest part of the ocean, and we're gonna watch you work.
Yeah, because you had to work to get back, right? You had to
It's
do a
it's been nothing but humbling work.
humbling work.
It humbles you. And if it doesn't, something is, and this is from a personal thing with me. If it doesn't humble you and make you in awe, you're missing out. You're missing out on something really special, because how often do we get awed, and how often do we get humbled into just seeing something, like you said earlier, beautiful and poetic? It's such a rarity, but then again, it's really not, because the world that I live in now, it's like this all the time.
All the time.
Even in the worst days, it's, even in the days I have physical pain from having spiritual, interactions, it's still, you can't put a price tag on it.
So
It's great.
there is a question that somebody's having. It says, can you elaborate on the spiritual warfare that you've been experiencing or witnessing? Can you talk about that a little bit? Is that something you want to kind of elaborate on?
Sure. Well, since I've been back, and like I said, in the beginning, in the first years, it took me time to really develop, a language, how to, compute spiritual languages, and insights into, a human language. There's also been, spiritual interactions,
Mm-hmm.
having a divine purpose and having a spiritual, relationship. There are, you know, energies on the earth and not on the earth that are against, I don't want to say against, just there's a lot of coagulated negative energy
Mm.
that looms. And that's the kind of warfare I'm speaking of, that, these energies kind of interfere with the flow of what's going to be taking place and growth.
Mm.
I don't want to call them ghosts and I don't want to call them demons, but just spiritual, coagulation, like just like a tumor of different energies, kind of clogging things up.
Ah,
Being who I am and have the connection that I have, you go head to head with these things willingly or unwillingly. It just is, and that's just how it is.
so you have found
So
yourself in places where and I do like that word, a coagulation. So, because I don't like to, I really, really have been taking another look at how we say that there's this light and this dark. And I think that linguistically on a human language really, really limits us to it, but a coagulation of energy that is, that's kind of, so do you see that coagulation sort of growing. I know you called it a tumor. What happens when you come into that sort of same space with that energy?
It gets a little tight.
Uh,
It, it
Tight.
gets tight.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because you have two opposite energies
Yeah.
cohabitating or being in the same area. You're going to feel that friction. It's like anything with energy. It's like taking two magnets and turning them around, and you kind of push them against each other. They push off of each other. You feel that pressure. You feel that force. You feel that energy. And, for myself, with certain interactions with these coagulations,
Mm-hmm.
you they are aware of themselves. Not all of them,
Mm-hmm.
but the bigger ones are aware. They do have a life, as a life, I guess, on that level can be.
Mm-hmm.
And they hold a lot of residual energy, which means they coagulate and corral a lot of soul energy, souls, people's thoughts, their emotions. They hold it kind of like a prison. I don't want
Ah.
to say a hell, but just kind of like a confined area. And I've been sent, and unknowingly, into these
Unknowingly.
areas. Yeah,
I think that's
yes.
really key here too, is sometimes you're sent without you really knowing why you're going, where you're going.
Right, until I get around it and it's known. This,
Ah,
you remember, you have a calling, and this is who you are, and this is what you're gonna do.
right.
But yes, I've been in those types of situations, and I mean, if you want healing, if someone wants healing in their physical body, and they have coagulated areas of energy, they don't have a flow. They're going to get ill. They're going to get worn down. They're going to get sick. So cosmically, going into these areas, we get it flowing. We get the
Ah,
flow back, and it's not always a pretty sight, spiritually speaking.
right.
It's not always pleasant for me, physically, because I am still in my, in the body.
Right.
So it that's what I'm talking about. That's what I was talking about.
So when you say like I think that you said it's not pleasant for you, like you feel that pain. Oh,
That
sorry.
and more.
That
Yeah,
and
no,
more. Okay.
yes. No, I can feel the anguish of let me try to break it down a little, I guess.
Okay.
Um let's say a coagulated spirit who has a bunch of souls and awarenesses trapped under its ignorance,
Okay.
using fear and all of these other negative things to try to kind of manipulate the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Walking into that, I can feel individually souls that are trapped, or locked away in that. Simultaneously, I can feel the awareness of the mass itself, kind of like a mob of just emotional people.
Uh-huh.
So I can feel it individually, I can feel it in the mass, and I can actually feel the tyrant who's in charge, the one who's really, has the control of the whole thing. So yes, but in dealing with that, it takes a toll. Well,
Yeah.
you as a medium, and I'm sure the people who are spiritually inclined understand that going into certain situations with people, let's say an emotional person, not even,
Right.
spiritual, just an emotional person can drain you if they're not in control of their emotions.
Right.
So now let's magnify it as a collective mass. I mean, not only drains, me personally, it could, it wounds me physically. I feel it in my physical.
Right.
So,
I'm so
um,
curious, and I had not thought about this until you're talking now. And I know I do still think so. I'm like I'm all of a sudden seeing this vision of like just how much fear is, how much, how do I say this correctly? Like, I don't know if I'm putting this out the way I'm seeing it, but I'm seeing it as like how the political landscape, and I know I'm using the political word, but what I'm hearing is like this idea of that fear kind of coagulating and erupting those super polarizations. I
well, it all feeds off of each other. It's, if you have someone who's not emotionally sound, can
Mhm.
easily get sucked into emotional and, undeveloped events. It's like magnets.
Right.
So yes, collective, well, collectively, all of that going on. I don't ever really use the word political or
Okay.
religious because, we're all humans and we all have emotions and these things. So on the emotional scale and the human scale, absolutely, it's a collective.
Yeah.
It's a collective. When things happen, people feel it, and it transmits and it spreads, and illnesses come up. Viruses, spring forward all of a sudden. It's all connected. So yes, so yes.
Wow. So you work a lot, you work on an individual basis, and also I'm hearing, and then you tell me if I'm incorrect in understanding. You also work sort of in a space. So if there is a space that is holding on to energies, you could be drawn to that to actually do work as well.
Ab- Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. It's all connected. Everything is connected to everything else. So yes, maybe, a person may draw me in by, seeking me out,
Mhm.
but, you dig a little deeper, there's always a bigger fish. There's
Right.
always a bigger fish. So, and there's always a root cause, and yes, so it's worked like that before.
I Yeah. So how do you so let's say you work in an area like that and you go in and you help somebody who has like some energy that's sort of coagulating within their space, and you clear it. And you clear it. I'm sure these people, one, are incredibly grateful for you. I'm super incredibly grateful for you. And but then you take it home and you have to clear it out of you. What does that process look like?
It's not pretty.
It's not pretty. It's not pretty.
No, it's I mean, it's worn me down before.
Hmm.
It's almost like, it's not almost like, it is. There's been times to where these things have siphoned or moved through
Hmm.
a channel,
Yep.
and they don't always go willingly. They don't always go pleasantly. So there's been times where I've had to kind of, digest what happened and break it down internally,
Hmm.
and that's where it kind of messes. It has, it's taken a toll on me before. That, it's like evicting, a squatter or someone who's really not willing to leave a space that they've been in control of. They're not going willingly, so they
Hmm.
start grabbing on things. They're throwing fits. So,
Right.
right, they
Right.
cause
Right. Yep.
so those
Nope.
right, so those things have actually moved through me, and I happen to be the walls that they grab onto on
To try.
on the way out. And the person that I am, I don't, I like to give everybody a chance,
Hmm.
and even these coagulations and you know, undeveloped awarenesses.
Right.
So it's kind of like I give him the chance that I was given. Look, you could switch sides, we could develop, you can
Uh,
grow, you could, grow into something better.
right.
Or the other alternative is not really a good choice. Some take the deal and some don't.
Right.
So
So that's super interesting. I know I could talk to you all night long. I know that we've been like talking for almost an hour and a half. I think you are so interesting, and I have such a good time when I talk with you, Ricky. I think I want to make sure that everyone knows that sees this now and sees it on Facebook, or if you share it, or if anybody shares it. Which actually I should have said that in the beginning. Please share this on your feed to tell people you're doing. I forgot. I'm sorry. But I also know that everything happens perfectly the way it's supposed to, so I'm going to trust that. Um, how would people get a hold of you if they're wanting to speak with you? What's the best
um,
way?
well, via Facebook, I mean, they can always send me a message.
Okay.
Um, that would be the best way right now.
Okay.
If they wanted to call me, I guess they could call me. What I'll do is I'll list my number on my
Okay.
Facebook.
Okay.
So
And so
I'm
they'll, oh, go ahead. I'm
I'm
sorry.
available. I was gonna say I'm available that way, and at the same time, the natural course. I like the natural course a lot. That you know, um, it'll happen when it happens.
Right. I love that it'll happen when it happens. I think I am I have to tell you, I have this wave of peace that has just come over me in a way that I didn't have before speaking with you. And I just am I am so honored and grateful and humbled that you agreed to do this. I think that I think it's part of the work that has to be done. I love the part where there's like there's a scientific experiment where it was sort of like if 100 different primates began to do something, then everybody else jumped in, right? And I think that's part of what's happening here. Maybe it doesn't need to, it's way more than 100 that needs to get lit up, but you have definitely lit me up, lit up a bunch of people that were able to join tonight. And you're going to continue to do this in perpetuity, I'm saying it incorrectly, but forever, because it's going to be on YouTube until you tell me to delete it. which,
I won't.
which you probably won't, and I won't either.
I won't.
So in perpetuity, that's the correct word. And so so his name is Ricky Bruno. You can find him Ricky. His last name is Bruno, Bruno. I will be making sure I tag him in this post. You can go to his Facebook. He's saying he's post his number, but definitely give him a private message. Let's not try and be too invasive on him. Okay. And spirit guides you, and I'm so blessed to have you here. Thank you so much, Ricky. I should actually ask you, is there anything that you want to say that I didn't ask you, or you feel like you want to bring to people's attention?
All is well.
All is well. I don't think there's anything more beautiful than all is well. All is well. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful night, and I will be talking with you later.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.